Continuing our run through the losers bracket at the Murky Cup, we have the Enjoyers going up against Hypernova. Another best of 3 series, and as we find ourselves in the losers bracket, whoever loses this series is out of Group A, of course. Now, once again, we have multiple rules for the draft. First rule is, heroes can only be played once within a series. Every single hero that you see played in game number 1 can't be played again in game 2, in game 3, and that is obviously also true for any subsequent map after that. Limits the hero pool a little bit, makes it more interesting, just creates some hero diversity where you're not seeing Blaze played every single game, for example. And in addition to that, as usual, let's all go over the bounties real quickly. So we have a second prize pool, crowdfunded, for this particular tournament. We have a normal prize pool, 1,000 euros, that will be distributed amongst the top teams, but we have also an additional prize pool that is fully crowdfunded, where teams can complete bounties to try and get their share out of that prize pool. If you want to contribute here, you can, by the way, check out the link that is in the description. There's a crowdfunding prize pool right there. We're aiming for 1,000 euros, of course. Anything that goes above will be used for future events where we're using a similar system. But here you can see the bounties, just to give you a bit of an idea. So any of these bounties that are completed by a team, each team can complete each of these bounties once, and they get a ticket for that. They get 1 bounty point. If they try a bounty and they fail that bounty, they still get a half point. That's something new that we're trying in this particular tournament to see how it goes. So far, it seems to be pretty okay and well received by the teams too. Now, keep in mind, as always, people that think, oh my god, they can just keep losing the same bounty and get points that way. The problem is, if you lose a bounty, it also means that you're losing the map, so very quickly you will be out of the tournament if you're trying to get bounty points that way, so not really a viable strategy. But either way, we're trying to incentivize teams to play with a handicap, aka anything that you see on this list. Some of those are a little bit more complicated to really win with. A few of them are easier to complete, but at the end of the day, teams obviously now have an incentive to try and complete those. The more bounty points you accumulate, the better for you. At the end of the tournament, we're going to look at each team, see how many bounty points they have, and then they get a share out of that bounty prize pool, depending on how many bounties they completed and how many were completed in total during the event. So again, if you want to contribute to the prize pool there, you can do that. There's a link in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube right now. Anything that goes above 1,000 euros, which would match the normal prize pool, is then going to be added to the next event. So all of this goes straight to the tournaments themselves, as teams were asking for that, or viewers were asking for that in the past. Now in game number 1, we have Cho'Gath actually banned out because they started with an Oriel pick. So Team Hypernova here might be one of the teams that is, at least on paper, a bit more on the weaker side. They're going up against a tough opponent with the Enjoyers here. And the blue team already going into Anduin, Mal'Ganis, and Chromie for Infernal Shrines. So trying to go for the range poke, with ETC and Hanzo now being locked in on the side of their opponents. Question is still if the teams are aiming for bounties. At this point at least, nobody has gone for a pick there yet. But the blue team could, of course, very quickly change that now, and should probably. I think the group stage is one of the areas where you have the best chance to complete bounties later on when we go into the playoffs and have more best-of-5 matches. This is also becoming pretty interesting, and there we already have it. They go for the Butcher. Hypernova, again, they are a bit of an underdog team. Big shout out, by the way, to them. Awesome that they signed up for the tournament. Huge thumbs up. Takes a lot to actually come into a tournament like this and first of all have the balls to sign up. There's tons of people that are just going for the armchair warrior style, and they sit on the couch and judge every play they see, but never put their own name on the line here. So Team Hypernova coming in and participating. Big shout out to them, but they will end up in a position where a lot of teams are going to try and complete some bounties against them, and that's exactly what we're seeing from the Enjoyers, who are obviously a team that found themselves very often in the final rounds of a tournament and are therefore coming in here as the favorites. So Butcher in game number 1, we're heading to Infernal Shrines, Hypernova against the Enjoyers. Game number 1 here in the losers bracket of Group A. On the left side, the Enjoyers with Lavakal on Anduin. Atrax with the Butcher. Fresh meat. Arian on Zeratul. We got Briss on Mal'Ganis, the sub for the blue team this weekend. And Alvaros on Chromie. Over on the right side of the map, Team Hypernova with Kablamo on Cassia. We We got Velkorn on Leoric, Suksumuxu on Oriel, Grolk on Hanzo, and Panda J is playing ETC. Even stacks on level 1 with a Thunderstroke here, so let's see what the red team can do. And again, huge shout out to them. They're not a team that we're seeing a lot in the tournaments here. They decided to sign up for the Murky Cup, and I couldn't be happier with this. This is exactly what I want to see more of. Teams that come in that might not have the experience yet, and they just say like, hey, we're going to pull this off right now, we're going to participate here, we might go up against some opponents that outmatch us, they have a lot more experience, but we're still going to give this a shot. And this is exactly what I want to see more of. So big shout out to them, thank you very much for participating in the event, for signing up, and best of luck against the Enjoyers, who are of course trying to set the Butcher up for some success here in this game. And well, this is a loser bracket match, meaning whichever team loses this series drops out of Group A. The winner still has a chance to make it into the playoffs directly. We have a last chance qualifier too, but you don't really want to end up in that situation. It's going to be pretty difficult to qualify through. Stacks coming in now in game number 1 for Cassia slowly. We have a solo support on each side, and the Butcher, of course, working on the fresh meat over here, trying to get that as quickly as they can. Probably going to play this a little bit more passively with the Butcher, at least initially, unless they're seeing some huge opportunities to get quick hits in. But they might have some problems here again. Alvaro's already with a pause. We had the last time that they played a bit of a problem on their end, where they had a few of their players drop out and slowly come back in. So I hope that there's not too much of an issue here. But either way, this is one of the perfect situations to actually pause the game. There's no fight going on. There's no real pressure at this point. So much better to have this happen in the early game than later on in the series. So let's hope that whatever the issue is, they can fix it quickly. And thankfully, it was only some lag on the side of Arian. So apparently this time nobody disconnected. So let's hope that it stays that way. They always had some problems with instability on the internet and the ping, I think. Now, 25 stacks for the Butcher. So, yeah, working on this slowly, steadily. We have to just make sure that nobody takes him out. There's a couple of tools that the red team, of course, has where they can try and take him out quickly with a nice isolation through ETC, for example, and then maybe after level 10 and Entombment gets dropped too. But there is a rotation happening between the lanes now from Itrax, and he is trying to get as many of those minion meat stacks as he possibly can, not even trying to go for any aggressive play or kills here. And this is exactly what they need to do. They have Mal'Ganis at the side, just trying to keep him safe, making sure that whenever a flank is headed his way, they know immediately what's happening. They can slowly get back to safety with the Butcher. By now we have him in 43, and you can just tell that he's essentially never alone, always getting shielded by the rest of the team at this point. So, bit of action down at the bottom of the map as the first objective gets announced. Teams are, of course, moving for the camp, and in this case, the red team is a little bit late to get their own shaman camp, and they have to take this one quickly. The shrine is going to be active in 3 more seconds. But to be fair, the blue team, even though they already took their shaman camp, is not getting into position for that right away. They still have the Butcher at the bottom of the map and are just working on meat stacks here. Sitting at 50 at this point, so again, just working that in. There's very little that is being done by their opponents to try and keep the Butcher low on these. The question will be, how are they operating around the first objective? Are they actually going to use Itrax and try and get kills and a few extra meat stacks through this? Or are they simply trying to keep the Butcher on the side lanes, get all those minion waves, give up the first objective, and just attempt to delay the red team a little bit? But with the Butcher now starting to move towards the top, it seems like they're going to be looking for some kills. Zeratul will attempt to prep those. They still have their own presence on the shrine, so while the red team is ahead in shrine minions, the blue team is starting to catch up, and they have the early level 7 talent kicking in, which will be reached by Hyvanova in a moment too. And as you can tell, the Enjoyers are actually giving the first one up. They're realizing that they're not going to get this right away, so they're just simply moving back towards the mid lane, take a couple more meat stacks, are now at 76 already. I gotta say, the Butcher has a lot of freedom here to get those meat stacks, and that is working quite nicely for them. So, while the first objective has been taken by the red team, the bait over the wall is already here. The wall is slowly getting destroyed. And this one is not going to do too much damage. They are going to nibble the hit points of the fort away slowly, but not enough to seriously threaten it. And while this happens, the Butcher is just getting stack after stack after stack on those minions. We are currently not even 5 minutes into the game, and he's sitting at 88, so closing in on 100 slowly. Haven't seen a single kill yet in the game. The blue team playing this very, very slow, and just trying to give the Butcher as many opportunities as possible to get stacked without engaging into big fights. Butcher now slowly coming in. They go for ETC, and Panna J might be in trouble here. ETC, and that's another 20 stacks for the Butcher, which he, by the way, hasn't collected yet. Alright, makes his way over. For a second I was just thinking, dude, you please pick him up. Don't just let him sit there. So he's at 120 stacks as is already, and with that first blood against ETC, they're now able to steal the opponent's mercenary camp away too. So Butcher back to the shenanigans down at the bottom of the map. He went into the meat shield on level 7 after picking the unrelenting pursuit on level 4. Leorki going down at the top lane. Solo kill by Zeratul. Nicely done. But down here at the bottom of the map, they're going for the wall and start to take that out slowly. You might have noticed that the Butcher actually not joins the battle and instead moved into the middle of the map to try and take another minion wave out. And they're getting dangerously low to a completed baseline, which would allow the Butcher to be way more aggressive here. Level 10 abilities are also in. That should give us the Lamb to the Slaughter, and there we go. The red team will have their own level 10 in a moment, but yeah. Oh, they actually get it! Chromie was able to get the ult out, and they get the kill. They're chaining the temporal loop together with the Lamb to the Slaughter, and that's a kill on ETC. The second one, and the Butcher is sitting at 163 stacks already. 6 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. That was a pretty sexy comp right there. Chromie with her ult straight into a Lamb to the Slaughter, and an easy kill against ETC, who thought himself safe as he pushes past the wall. 3 kills to 0 now against Team Hypernova, and for the Enjoyers, yeah, this is looking pretty darn good. Another attack at the top. They're trying to go for Leorki again, but Welcorn makes it. Still alive and kicking. But the Butcher on his way to the middle, trying to chunk down. And immediately moves back, by the way, upon seeing ETC, waiting for the rest of the team. I kind of like that. I really do. They're not risking anything. They're playing this as safe as they can. Tiny risks when they're looking for a kill and they think they have an opportunity. But they are not risking Itrax actually dying and losing some of the meat stacks here. So now he's at 183. He's going to pick up a few more right here. So he will complete his baseline very quickly. And then he can start to really go for the aggression in those fights and try and help the team out and stack this even further than that. So yeah, this is looking, I mean, damn good for them. 190 stacks. That's really the moment where you don't want to make any mistake. Charges into the mosh, interrupts it, Lamb to the Slaughter again, but ETC this time survives, and Lavakal gets the mace to the face. As Leori comes in, the janitor is taking out the trash and eliminates Anduin. He's out, but also Oriel was nearly dead here. They're all retreating. Then again, Briss might be in trouble. Oriel still alive somehow, and they kill Mal'Ganis. But the Butcher, 192 stacks, they killed Leoric. Where are those meat stacks? If he's able to pick up the meat, then he completes the quest right there. Jumps into the back, picks it up, he's sitting at 200, and now they can go in and try and get kills with him. Quest complete. Time to feed. Nah, he gets out, but Chromie is just hammering them. Goes for Oriel and takes her down, but the red team still locks in the second objective. So despite the fact that the blue team is now a level ahead, we have Punisher number 2 in the hands of Hypernova. Butcher now on 200 stacks, so he will be a lot more aggressive and will therefore, of course, also die a few times. But can't lose any of the meat stacks anymore. We have the Savage Charge on level 13 as Team Hypernova picks up their own level 13 talent. 5 kills to 2. Yeah, and Mal'Ganis is already moving in again. Butcher with another charge, and that's a kill. Cassia goes down. More meat for the Butcher. Didn't go vegan on us. Nope, that guy is a carnivore for sure. Kill after kill right now, and he is going to start really ramping this up. So this is going to be pretty huge for them. Very fast on the base completion. We have the Butcher with 10,000 damage. This is going to ramp up as this all continues. And depending on how long the game lasts, it's going to get more and more out of this. Another charge is coming in. And apparently no Wraith Walk cooldown for Leoric, which means that he falls, and that is instantly another 10 stacks for the Butcher, who's now sitting at 220. Down at the bottom of the map, of course. We're now looking at level 16 talents nearly. Once again, temporal loop. Off we go. Top side gets attacked again. Leorki will be back soon. And Velcron is already retreating, realizing that he won't be able to save that fort either way. Now the top side fort has fallen down at the bottom of the map. This one has obviously been obliterated too. By this point in time, they're hoping to at least get a kill against Mal'Ganis, but no dice. Hyper Nova not able to get that kill, and now they find themselves 2 levels behind their opponent. Trying to find an angle in this game here. If you look at the experience distribution, the one thing that I really want to highlight is how big the gap is in minion experience. Ooh, that arrow! Arian is able to get away from it. But this really shows you a very experienced team in a competitive environment, in a tournament environment, going up against somebody that just doesn't have the same amount of experience in a situation like this. So we have a massive increase in minion experience, just highlighting how much better they are controlling the minion waves and getting experience through that, and also how much the focus on the mercenaries and getting experience through capturing these camps is really doing for them. With that 2-level advantage, they're just running a talent lead over the opponent continuously. And this is one of the things that oftentimes gets overlooked when you have an experienced competitive team going up against somebody that just hasn't played a whole lot in this environment. Which is also one of the examples where it's oftentimes kind of silly when people are looking at, you know, 2 top teams in a grand final, for example, facing off against each other, and then putting out comments like, oh my god, this just looks like my bronze games. I was like, okay, I would really love to play in your bronze games because I'm seeing none of this in Storm League, not like nowhere. It's like insane. But yeah, people always overlook how small the margin of error is on the higher level of play. Right now, we got, again, ETC being targeted. Nice Aegis, though, but the Lamb to the Slaughter in the back is hitting hard. Hanzo is able to get out. Great by Hypernova. Hypernova trying to keep their players alive. Going for the kill on Mal'Ganis. They get it, but Leorki goes down, and Anduin, he got caught too and gets dropped. That Entomb from Leoric was absolute fire. And that allows the red team now to pick up 2 kills. 230 stacks for the Butcher. They try to get the kill here, but Zeratul comes in together with the Meat Boy, and they're able to take down Hanzo and Cassia, but the Butcher falls as well. Still, oh, there's the kill against Oriel, and I think ETC is not going to make it either. Looks like a 5-man team wipe. Yep, the entire team gets wiped out, but they got a lot of kills too. Obviously, though, towards the end, starting to fall apart just a little bit here. But the Butcher gets killed, and they're following up with the rest. Now we have the minions pushing through the top. Level 19 is nearly on the board now for the blue team. So we will soon hit towards level 20 talents. The Butcher with level 16 went straight into Enraged. Anduin, obviously, for the double pull with a Glyph of Faith. And yeah, we'll see what's now happening around the Frozen Punisher at the top, because it's going to be a little bit dicey for Hypernova to really make a stand there. We already have a massive lead on Shrine Minions for the Enjoyer, so I don't think the red team is even going to attempt to move into this. There were a lot of kills earlier also against the red team, but the Butcher didn't pick up any of the additional meat stacks that he could have had. We're now seeing him at 20,000 damage. Butcher is very rarely a hero that you will see with a huge amount of damage output. It happens when you have really long games. When he completes his quest and you have a long game where he picks up 300, 400 stacks on his baseline, then he really starts to chunk with every single auto attack, a massive amount of damage onto the numbers. But just at this point already, the single target damage that he can get out is pretty significant. ETC! He's a solo dancer over here. Yep, ETC goes for the party, but that was wishful thinking. So Anduin obviously would have pulled him out anyways. But the Frozen Punisher now up at the top. ETC not with a mosh pit available anymore. And level 20 is ready. And that gives us the Slaughterhouse. Slaughterhouse in and Varian's Legacy as well. Top side, the wall goes down. And this is the first keep on the chopping block. As the Enjoyers are starting to make their move. Here's the Lamb to the slaughter. And there's the kill. Hanzo is dead. They're trying for ETC. They're trying for Leoric. Butcher's coming in with one slow after another. He obliterates ETC. There's beef on the grill tonight as the cow falls. The keep has been taken out. 250 stacks now for the Butcher. And they are just crushing it. The move for the core, and this seems like a victory in game number 1 for the Enjoyers. Their core is already falling, the shield is gone. The Butcher picking up some additional stacks. And here's the victory for the blue team as Hypernova loses on Infernal Shrines. GG.
Before we head into game number 2, make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it yet so you don't miss out on any future content here on Khaldor TV.
Game number 2, Garden of Terror, is our second map between the Enjoyers and Hypernova. The Butcher bounty completed for the Enjoyers. They were able to pull it off. Keep in mind, the 10 heroes that we've seen on the last map are now out of the hero pool, so they can't be picked again, meaning that we're gonna see some different heroes for our second map. And very likely another bounty attempt for the Enjoyers, of course. Team Hypernova with a couple of really cool moments also on the first map and some team fights that looked pretty good initially. But that Zeratul plus Butchercom towards the end started to be a bit of a problem. Zeratul in particular was just ripping them apart, and the Butcher came in with all that single target damage and dropped them very, very quickly in these big fights. But they had their moments there. And I think if just on the macro aspect, I highlighted a bit the minion experience, for example, on the lanes where they missed out on a lot of it. If they sharpen up a bit more on those rotations, I think they can probably do a lot more here. Now, once again, the bounty list, just so that you guys have a bit of an idea. There's also a link in the description of the video, by the way. If you want to look up at the list at some point by yourself and have a bit of a look there, then you will find that in the video description if you're catching this on YouTube right now. So there's a link to the crowdfunding for the bounty pool to incentivize the teams to just like try as many of these as they can. And there's also a link to the graphic itself. So if you want to double check at some point what bounties are available in general, you can do that, of course, too. And we've seen actually not all of them, but a lot of them already attempted at least. Not all of them completed, so we'll see a lot more. Some of the stuff I'm actually looking really forward to. I personally am a fan of that Stitches and Alexstrasza one, but the one time that the team was trying for it, the opponent just banned out Alexstrasza, which was a bit sneaky, so yeah. But yeah, either way. Now, game number 2, we're going to Garden of Terror, big map obviously. You could actually try to play maybe the Abathar Locust build if you really wanted to. We had one team already go for it and try and play that Locust build there on Aldrich Pass actually. So the bigger the map, the better for that Abathar bounty if you really want to give it a shot. But now we have Dehaka and we have Brightwing, so basically a double global for Team Hypernova, with the blue team starting things up with Muradin as their tank, solid choice on essentially any map. And we got Rhaegar who can help you on the camp clear. So when you're trying to go for those mercenary camps, the quick lightning shield is always helping you quite a lot. And here comes Falstad. Falstad is actually someone where I could also see a bounty coming in, maybe for another event. I think I talked about this earlier already with Hinterland Blast. It's a little bit old school. This might be quite fun too. I think that's still fine if you have like a bounty that centers around a different ult that is being chosen. We have a couple of those obviously in the list already as is. Zagara would be a good example, but not too many of them. And there's the Abathar ban. That's a little bit sneaky. You have Muradin already, which is obviously pretty nice when you get a symbiote head on him. Even with a Locust build, if you have symbiote support for Muradin or any other hero, that always is quite annoying. So they are shutting this down right from the start. It's actually kind of funny because we have 3 globals now for Team Hypernova. They could have really tried to deal with Abathar quite nicely there. If you go for a Locust build Abathar, you still have to go out on the map with him. Oh, yeah, they're gonna go for Twin Blade Varian here. Twin Blade Varian is being played, and Kerrigan. Now, to be fair to the Enjoyers, as I said before, are clearly the favorite. So if you're coming into a series and you know from the beginning that you are on paper the better team, and it's a series where you should be able to really put your mark on it, that's the best one to go for bounties that are notoriously difficult to complete. And as I said, in other tournaments, we never even had Twin Blade Varian like attempted, because Twin Blade Varian is just garbage. It's just trash. And in this tournament, we doubled the reward. So you don't only get 1 ticket if you complete Twin Blade Varian as a bounty. You get 2 tickets now. We had to increase the incentive because nobody tried it even. And here is the Enjoyers with a chance to make that happen. And they're going for a very aggressive frontline now with Kerrigan, Varian, and Murden, and then Sergeant Hammer behind it. Whereas over on the right side, Hypernova with that combo of Arthas and Medivh negating some of those disadvantages that Arthas has, but is that going to be enough to lock in a victory here? We'll find out. Garden of Terror, not number 2. Game number 2! On the left in blue, we got Arion on Mirrodin, the blue team in the lead in this series, so this is match point for them. If they win here, they move on to the next round of the losers bracket. We have Briss on Kerrigan, Atrax on Varian. Yep, this is going to be a Twin Blade play. They are going for another bounty. We got Lavakal on Rhaegar, and Alvaros is coming in with Sergeant Hammer. Now, Team Hypernova is clearly going for some global plays, as they have Club Lamo on Falstad, we have Suksumuxu on Brightwing, Welcorn on Dehaka, and then even with that, we still have Portals, thanks to Grolk on Medivh, and Panda J on the front line is playing Arthas for the team. And he is oftentimes in a situation where if the fight turns against him, he has trouble getting out of a battle, but that's not really the case if you're playing with Medivh. And that is a kill. So Rhaegar gets eliminated quickly. The combo of Medivh and Arthas is something that we have seen in the past several times, and every time it happens, I really like it. I think it's a lot of fun because, as I said, Arthas, he suffers a little bit from mobility issues, or can. If he's coming in as a side lane or even as a main tank and you have a very melee heavy comp and you're really trying to just like drive into the opponent and control the space, then he can be great. But escaping out of a dire situation is not really his forte. So if you have Medivh with you, then these portals are absolutely gold and can also allow Arthas to quickly jump onto a target with his Frozen Tempest, get that Howling Blast in, and then try and get a quick kill. So they're going to try and focus on that. Already got a kill very early on against Rhaegar with it. Now here comes the portal. Yeah, they're trying to go for some extra damage on Sergeant Hammer, but at least for now, Alvaros is fine. The tower, on the other hand, that got destroyed very quickly. We're going to keep our eye on Medivh too. That baseline is going to be pretty important. He's already playing this pretty aggressive, so needs to be careful that the blue team doesn't jump on him and take him out. As expected, Varian with the High King's Quest on level 1. Again, as already mentioned previously, this is something where you are trying to just boost the damage even further. So we keep our eye on that. Camps are now up on the map, and immediately the teams are starting to make moves for this. Kerrigan has already claimed the first set of Siege Giants. We now have over on the left side the next move made for a camp. Panda J is going to scout all of this out together with Medivh. But if they really want to make a play for this, they need to get some of the globals in. And I don't really think that they're going to be this aggressive around it. And yeah, we'll just let this happen. But, well, here we should get our level 4 talent for Varian now. Anything else but Twin Blades in this situation would shock me. And there we go. The Twin Blades of Fury. So, let's see what they can do with this. I mean, again, they are the favorites. This is very, very clear. And despite all of the efforts of Hypernova and the good plays that we've seen from them in game number 1, you could clearly tell that towards the end of the game, the blue team was picking up a lot of steam and really capitalizing on the small advantages that they accumulated and built through the course of that first map. So now we're going to see probably something similar. Yes, yeah, maybe a kill. And it is. Sergeant Hammer goes down, but the birdie gets hit hard as the Stormbolt connects. Mirrodin, though, might be in trouble, and indeed is, even with the help of Rhaegar. He doesn't have a chance there. Now they're trying to go for Atrax and Twin Blades Varian. Is he going to get away? No, he's not. That is 4 kills to 1 as Team Hypernova is able to pick up multiple kills and take the lead in the game. Twin Blades variant just not strong enough here. So a huge chase initiated by Medivh. Varian dying there towards the end of the battle. And good news for the red team as they are just breaking through that wall at the bottom of the map. Pick up that level 7 talent. We got the sticky flare and the dream shot for Brightwing. And 26 stacks for Medivh, which is pretty nice for him, of course, too, because now we're gonna get to see him get closer and closer to a quest completion, which would allow him to play a little bit more aggressive. Right now, he should still be worried a lot about dying, but if he gets that quest completed, that would be a huge step forward in the course of this game. Arthurs with 63 stacks on his level 4. They're starting to go for more and more camps as well, as Varian is just going. I still remember when he was released for the first time and people, myself included, would just team up for like Team League games and would come in and play, for example, Abathur support for Varian. You would get Tacita in for the shield and then Morales for Stim Drone. He would just go full Variant support just for the lulz, which is still a great way of doing things. I mean, the Tacita shield is falling a little bit short these days, so obviously he's been changed significantly. You could do the same thing, I assume, with Zarya, but it's just fun to play. It's not good, but it's at least fun. So if you center the entire team composition around Varian, you definitely can have a laugh. But in a tournament environment, it is far from being an optimal build and something that guarantees you victory. So there's that. Still, can bring in a laugh or two. Now, at the top, they're still trying to get some damage done here. Varian has moved down to the bottom of the map and is whacking away. Brightwing not really impressed, and the lick misses. Atrax is able to move out. Level 10 gets picked up by Team Hypernova in just a moment. Nearly 30 stacks now for Medivh. Goes straight into the ley line here. And we have Syndragosa. Alright, Arthur's not going for the army. Full Syndragosa for him. Brightwing is dead. That was a little bit too much for the Fruit Fly to handle, as Kerrigan and Varian both jump in. Yeah, Varian is not getting controlled at all, then that's obviously a bit of an issue. And one of the reasons why Arthur's was picked in the first place is because they were realizing what's going on and picked Arthur's as a bit of a counter. I mean, back in the day, for example, what you would... Oh, Hinterland Blast! Nice! Love it! I didn't even pick up on that. It's not a bounty here, but it should be. Ah, they can't get the kill on Murden, though. They're barely getting away here, and particularly Medivh needs to be careful. Dude, you have 35 stacks. Whatever you do, do not engage at the front line now, because that's too much. Varian goes down again. He's gone. They're trying for Sergeant Hammer, and Alvaros is dead too. I'm telling you, Twin Blade Varian is so garbage that Team Hypernova is just going to ruffle stomp them completely here. Well, we'll see if he gets to that point, but let's just say that for now the Enjoyers are definitely struggling a little bit. It doesn't seem like they're enjoying what's happening here too much. We have 2 of the quests completed on level 1 already, but I gotta say I was not ready for the Leyline Hinterblast combo. I did not see that one coming. Oh, we should give them actually a point for picking Hinterblast. Yeah, that should be a bounty. I honestly don't understand why it isn't. I'm sure that we had at some point at least discussed using that, but for some reason decided against it. That's a big one. I was about to talk when all of this happened a little bit about Arthur's though. Back in the day when Greymane was a big thing, when we didn't really have that many heroes in the game yet, Arthur's was always a counter. They're getting another kill here, aren't they? Arthur's was always a big pick against Greymane and against Illidan, for example, just to really control heroes that rely on auto attacks this much. And damn, they're coming in again with the kill. Kerrigan is now gone. They were aiming to drop a few of the heroes in blue, but couldn't get them initially, and then they just decided that Kerrigan was the better target, swapped over and took her down. That's 7 kills to 2 now, and they're really doing work here. Now, each team has a seed. Medivh has also completed his baseline quest, so he can play a little bit more aggressively now. If he dies, it's not that big of a deal anymore. I mean, you don't want anybody to die, but still, doesn't have to keep the cooldowns back for himself. Already the interrupt, okay. Here comes the portal. The Haka in the back. They get the stun on Sergeant Hammer. The Ancestral is out immediately, but the blue team is still being chased. And here comes Syndragosa again. They go for Muradin, and the Dwarf is gone.
Varian is trying to whack away against Medivh, but there's the counter kill. The fruit fly is dead again. And with the portal, Dehaka is somehow able to escape. I really thought they would be able to take him down too. He didn't look too great here, but escaped through the portal in the last second. Here's the interrupt against Varian on the channel. It's a 4 versus 4 situation right now with Hinterland Blast still available, so Kablamo could even use that for an interrupt if they wanted to. 13 talents on both sides now. The Lig against Varian, they go for him immediately. They're trying to at least, but Falstad is also a little bit low. The same is true for Dehaka as the ley line lines them up. Hinterland Blast didn't really do as much for them as they wanted, but still, I'm giving it some styler points at least. So we have the channel again, gets interrupted once more. By now everybody is back up on the map, so we have also Arthur's back in action, but it seems like the blue team is going to lock this one in eventually. Red team is about to give it up, so seed number 3 ends up in the hands of the Enjoyers. 20,000 damage for Arthur's. He's the top damage dealer currently for Team Hypernova, thanks also of course to the Frozen Tempest, where Sergeant Hammer is sitting at 37. And immediately tails out of there and is like, nope! With Medivh right on top of me, I feel a little bit alone right now. So how about we are not fighting for this? The problem for Hypernova is that currently we have a seed up at the top, and this is at the top left. So this is starting to be a little bit of a problem. By the way, Twin Blades Varian on 20,000 damage is currently the second highest damage dealer on the side of the Enjoyers. Now, to be fair, this is also roughly where he's supposed to be. There's only one range damage dealer. Sergeant Hammer will obviously be the top damage for them. Karrigan and Varian are, at the end of the day, fighting for second place. But, yeah, we'll see how that goes for them. For now, there is a 1-level advantage for Team Hypernova. So, yeah, that's not too shabby. Question is just, can they get that level 16 talent quickly enough so that they have a chance to go for the tribute? The problem is with Brightwing about to... Oh, actually, are they saving Brightwing? They might be able to, and they do. Nice. Nicely done. I already thought that would be a kill. Here comes the Hinterland Blast again. It just doesn't do as much damage as it should, even if they line them up pretty well here. The channel attempt at the top hasn't been started yet. They still need to take those Guardians out. But level 16 is about to be ready. Dehaka can tunnel in. Them playing a triple global really helped them to run an experience advantage over the opponent's team. Portals to save Medivh, and they're aiming for the channel. They have the level 16 talent, but I can guarantee you that the Enjoyers are at least going to attempt to delay this for as long as possible. Temporal Flux is in. We now also got the Crippling Hammer. Brightwing on the channel, and they're gonna grab it. Yes, that is the second tribute for Team Hypernova. The second seed. Different mechanic. Totally different mechanic. Blizzard absolutely didn't just copy and paste the tributes from Cursed Hollow here. No, of course not. 8 kills to 3. But who is going to take the first objective? Who is going to be the first team to get themselves some Garden Terrors? We have damage on the fort at the bottom map on each side. Brightwing gets attacked again and is able to get out. I love what Hypernova is doing here. I really like this. The triple global that they're running, the portals that they have the entire time. Even the play around Sindragosa, Leyline, and the Hinterland Blast. I would love to have Falstad with a bit more damage around all of this. He's sitting at 22,000, which is nothing really to write home about. He's around the same damage output that we're seeing from Arthur's, from Varian, and from Karrigan. But now that the tribute is a little bit more towards their end, maybe they can make some moves here. Once again, we have the portal set up. Arthur's sticks around much longer than expected, but they're trying to buy some time for the channel, which hasn't really happened yet. They need some heals here. There's the ley line. Hinterland Blast. Some good damage, but Arthur's is in trouble. Gets a shield in the last moment, but they have to retreat here. Dehaka was trying to come in from the back. Couldn't. But they are able, with Sindragosa, to slow them down a little bit further. And once again, the Hinterland Blast here has done some damage. But now with Arthur's also chipping in, going for some Howling Blast connections, they might just be able to put additional pressure onto Varian, for example. Karrigan needed some heals here and got the Ancestral, but the Panda falls. Arthur's is gone, and Medivh gets wrecked. And that is the quest completed for Varian. So now even more damage from Itrax, and it seems like the blue team is slowly picking up momentum here. They get the seed, they get the garden terrors, and now they can really just try and break through this with, yeah, a lot of momentum. The fort in the middle is already gone. I can guarantee you that the one at the bot lane falls 100%. This is already low to begin with. But, the siege giants actually get destroyed before this fort on the blue team side is getting destroyed as well. So with only 3 defenders, Team Hypernova in some trouble here. I'm honestly wondering if they would have been a bit better off with Falster just going for the normal gust and them trying to get some disengages going at one point or another. As it stands right now, the team is starting to suffer. The momentum has definitely changed. The blue team is now way more effective and is really starting to run the show in the latest team fights. There are always some nice moves from Arthas and the rest of the team, but they have been struggling to get those kills. But this is going to be a kill. Yep, there's no Ancestral, and Varian just disappears. That's a 3rd kill against Varian. Just saying. He's falling it behind on the total kill count. Obviously, the forts are now gone, but at the top side, they still need to deal with the Garden Terror here. The red team is still ahead in experience, thanks to the globals that they're running, and they obviously have 2 seeds still in play. So if they grab another one, they will get Garden Terrors themselves. They definitely need to destroy a couple of structures, and somebody should move down here and take this fort out. I mean, they are already sitting at the camp and stealing this one, but they could just simply go for the fort and take it apart. They should do that either way, no matter what else happens here, and I suppose that they will. It'll be interesting with Falset what he takes. I would assume that they're upgrading Hinterland Blast, because what else are you going to go for? Probably, I mean, the only other choice is really Epic Mount, and that is not necessarily needed, since they have so many globals. I don't think that they need the extra utility. But you could definitely benefit from upgrading the ult and getting a bit more oomph out of that. Now, we got, yeah, 19.5. They're closing in on level 20. And, yep, down at the bottom of the map, there's still a Siege Giant camp that the red team has not picked up yet. So the Enjoyers are attempting to steal it, and they're going to be in time. Only the Haka is going to sniff this out, and I don't think that they're... No, they're not going to be in time there to do anything about it. So, Syndragosa gets upgraded into Absolute Zero. Here's the upgrade, Call of the Wildhammer. So, more range, more damage. That's exactly what they need out of this. But can they capitalize on that 1 level advantage and the talent lead? Maybe around the seed. If they get that seed now, that, I mean, again, this is a seed that you should definitely be able to pick up. If you don't win a fight around your level 20 talent, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble as the game continues one way or another. They're still trying to take a couple of the waves out at the bottom. They can use the globals to also deal with a few of the catapults. Red team is not even trying to interrupt here, so they're just accepting that now Garden Terrors are going to try and take their forts out. And since we're now 16, 17 minutes into the game, this is really where Team Hypernova needs to make a play. They need to be aggressive here, and they need to take forts out. If they don't kill structures at this point, then it would be a disaster for them. And they seem to be aiming for that bottom keep. Top side, it's going to be, I was about to say an easy defense, but it seems like the blue team is actually slowly moving back here. Now that's a lot of damage, but I guess they're still able to save the fort for now. But at the bottom of the map, they're nibbling on the keep wall. Mid lane fort will be destroyed, 100%. Top side, I'm surprised that they didn't try and take this one out too, but there's a lot of experience that the Enjoyers just picked up too. So they're getting closer to level 20. But the wall is opened up, and now they need the Haka also in play here. They can still use Arthas in his ult, and they should if they really want to get the kill here. And there we go. Absolute Zero, Call of the Wildhammer, and it just feels like it does no damage at all. Please buff this. Seriously, this talent needs a little bit more love. It connects with heroes, and it just feels like it didn't do anything. Did they even lose hit points? I suppose they were hit, but it just always looks like nothing was accomplished. One fort in the middle of the map falls, and yeah, that is not enough. Now they can possibly take out the top 4 too, with Medivh just cheating around and granting vision. They know that there's nobody here doing anything about it, but Brightwing gets picked off on the map. Topside fort falls. They are a bit behind in structures now, but this is recoverable. They just need to make sure that nobody gets caught here. And yeah, Arthur's already moving back. Rest of the team escapes through the portal, and they're now moving towards the middle. as the blue team tries to go for the core. Alright, that's the choice. Leyline is still available. Right wing again is gone, so this is a 5 versus 4 on the core, but the Enjoyers with Sergeant Hammer seem to be confident to siege up on this. 65,000 damage for Sergeant Hammer. Attacks keep slowly coming. That's a triple Leyline right there. Falstead doesn't have his ult yet. Carrigan with the Chrysalis already. And here comes Marion. Twin Blades of Glory is what they're looking for. And to be fair, the red team is actually dropping super low, and so does the core. Varian is just whacking away the entire time. Hinterland Blast is available, but there's nothing really lining up for them. The Haka is gone. Absolute Zero comes in. Carrigan destroyed. 40% on the core. They're trying to go for more kills. The Leyline came out again. They want another kill, and they can't take... They take Meridian out, but the core is falling, and that is game as the Enjoyers take out Team Hypernova with a 2-0 victory.